Welcome to the Protagonist Pub. My name is Tammy, and this is where characters gather. And it's May. Well, it will be May shortly, and that means it is time for the Southern Charm Readathon, which is in celebration of Amanda's birthday. It is for the entire month of May. She has a bunch of wonderful co-hosts, which I will list in the description down below. And I thought this year I would give my recommendations for the prompts. And I think it's always interesting when people give the recommendations for a readathon, not just what they're going to read, because we all have such varied reading tastes that we discover things we didn't know existed. So, in that vein, I thought I would, share some of the books I think would work beautifully for Amanda's readathon, which I'm very excited for. So, without further ado, as Amanda likes to say, let's go! So the first, not the first. So this prompt is, what is this prompt? Howdy Partner, a book featuring friendship or family. And this is always a difficult prompt for me because most books feature family and or friends. Otherwise, it would just be a very disjointed book. There are some obvious exceptions to that. Spy thrillers come up as an obvious exception to that. It's hard to make friends in espionage books because, well, you're spying, and any friendship that is there is not exactly probably honest for, well, obvious reasons. So, I only have 3 physicals, and I have a series to recommend. And the series to recommend is the Skymar series. Here's the 3 books by Pepper Basham. And actually, I'll make that 2 series. The second series is the Freddie and Grace Mystery Series by Pepper. And there's the Freddie and Grace books. I love both of these series by Pepper. They are both family focused, and they are both just wonderfully written, easy to read, palate cleansing, I love you books to readers and family and love. And I've read them all except Loyally Luke, which is, as you will discover later this month, is on my May TBR. And I can highly recommend these books. Usually, anything Pepper writes is an easy recommendation for me. So next up, these 2 won't be a surprise, would be the Children of the Consortium series by Kathy McCrum. The first book in the series is Recorder. And this is all about friends and found family. And I love this book. I tell everybody to read it. If you haven't picked it up yet, now would be a great time to pick it up and discover just how amazing it is. And please, if you are leery of sci-fi, do not be leery of this book because of the sci-fi label. It's not. Just pick it up. Next book also won't be a surprise. This is In Pieces by Rhonda Ortiz. It is the first book in the Molly Chase series. And this is all about family. It's all about making choices, and this series is one of the best written historical fiction series I have ever read. And if you know me, you know I read a lot of historical fiction, and this is a masterclass. So, do yourself a favor and go pick this one up. And the next book is on my May TBR. It is a Dave book. And it definitely is about friends and found family. That is the Lord of the Rings trilogy by J.R.R. Tolkien. This is all 3 books. And I love when things come sliding out of books that you don't know what they are. I have never read the books. I will tell you, I did not enjoy the movies. I think I didn't enjoy the movies because I didn't read the books. But we'll see if that's true. So we shall see. I am definitely reading this in May, so you already have a glimpse of my TBR for May in this one prompt. Next up, also in this category would be Veiled in Smoke by Jocelyn Green. This is the first book in the Windy City Saga series. It is definitely about family. It is definitely an emotional, hard-hitting, impactful read. And I don't think if anyone picks this book up, they will regret it. Yes, it is a difficult read, but it is so worth it. It is so, so worth it. We read this for book club in January, and it is fantastic, and everybody who read it in book club absolutely loved it. So, Windy City Saga, this is the first book. I can highly recommend this book. Alrighty, it is time for Hot as Blue Blazes, a book with a hot setting. This was probably the most difficult prompt to pull from my shelves, simply because it's hard to remember where books are set, and I didn't just want to go pull Texas and hold Texas up. So, yeah. So first up would be Summer on Honeysuckle Ridge by Debbie Mason. As you know, I soft DNF'd this last year. However, I want to pick it back up, and it is obviously set in summer. It is set in the South, so it would be hot and humid. And yeah, set in North Carolina. So, and again, still, I love the dog on the cover. I love the cover in general, so not surprising if you know me. Next up is a book from an author I haven't tried. I haven't read Debbie Mason either. That is The Summer Wives by Patrice Williams. This would definitely be hot. It's in the title. It says summer. And this is set on Winthrop Island. I'm not sure where Winthrop Island is. But, you know, I'll read it and find out. Don't know when I'll read it, but I want to read it. And I love the cover. And it's historical fiction, so, you know, it's up my alley. Next up would be The Well by Stephanie Lansom. This is, I believe, the first book. Yeah, it is the first book in the series. She is a new to me author. This is biblical fiction. And I will read you the back of this one. Could he be the one we've been waiting for? For the women of the Samaritan village of Skyer, the well is the place of blessing, the place where they gather to draw their water and share their lives. But not for Mara. Shunned for the many sins of her mother, Nava, Mara struggles against the constant threats of starvation or exile. Mara and Nava's lives are forever changed with the arrival of two men. Shem, a mysterious young man from Caesarea, and Jesus, a Jewish teacher. Nava is transformed by Jesus, but his teachings come too late, and she is stoned by the unforgiving villagers. Desperate to save her dying mother, Mara and Shem embark on a journey to seek Jesus' help. A journey that brings unexpected love and unimaginable heartbreak. Yeah. I love what this book says on the back. It's definitely going to be a hot setting. So, The Well. Next up are two Mary Kay Andrews books. I love Mary Kay Andrews writing. These are all about friends and coming to terms with life, and just they're great beach reads, and there is nothing more enjoyable than taking a great beach read book outside and just relaxing and, escaping, which is why we read, is it not? So first up would be Summer Rental, and I'll read you a little bit of the back. Ellis, Julia, and Dory, best friends since Catholic grade school. They now find themselves in their mid-30s at a crossroads of life and love. Ellis, recently fired from a job she gave everything to, is rudderless and now beginning to question the choices she has made over the past decade of her life. Julia, whose caustic wit covers up her wounds, has a man who loves her and is offering her the world, but she can't hide how deeply insecure she feels about her looks, her brains, and her life. And Dory has recently been shockingly betrayed by the man she loved and trusted most in the world. Though this is only the tip of the iceberg of her problems and secrets. A month in North Carolina's Outer Banks is just what each of them needs. Tell me it doesn't sound like the perfect beach read. And the chairs. I mean, come on. You know it's hot. You know you just want to go outside, sit in a beach chair, and read this. Next one, Beach Town by Mary Kay Andrews. And I'll read you a little bit of the back of this one. Gear Hennessy needs palm trees. As a movie location scout, Picture Perfect is the name of the game. But her last project literally went up in flames, and her career is on the verge of flaming out. Greer has been given one more chance if she can find the perfect, undiscovered beach hideaway for a big-budget movie. She zeroes in on a sleepy Florida town called Cypress Key. But Eben Thibodeau, the town's mayor, objects to Greer's plan. A lifelong resident of Cypress Key, Eben wants the town to be revitalized, not commercialized. Greer has a way of making things happen, regardless of obstacles. And Greer and Ebb are way too attracted to one another for either of them to see reason. Again, sign me up, give me a beach chair, and I'm good for several hours. Okay, last on this list was a recent read. I loved it. I now want to read her back catalog. That would be The Women by Kristen Hanna. This is set in Vietnam and in San Diego, California, time in Virginia, Montana, and obviously when it's set in Vietnam, it's hot. It makes the other books look cold in comparison. So this is a fantastic hot setting read. It is a fantastic historical fiction. There is no good reason I can think of that anyone would not love this book. Do yourself a favor. Put yourself on the wait list for library. Buy yourself a copy. Listen to it on audio. This is a fantastic book. Okay, up next. All right, up next is Hey Y'all, a book with more than one point of view. I love multiple points of view in a book, and there are very many ways to do it. And so first up will be The Princess of Ireland by Edward Rutherford. And this is told in a timeline point of view. So you have characters in each timeline and they tell their story, and then the next timeline tells their story. So there are multiple points of view. And I love the fact that it's a almost contiguous story as it unfolds. And you're just drawn in. And as you all know, I read it last month. I loved it. I have the second half of the second book in the duology sitting on my shelves waiting for me later this year, and I am looking forward to it immensely. Next up is a book I read earlier this year with Tay over at Tales and Treats with Tay, who is one of the co-hosts for the Southern Charm Readathon, and that is Hope Between the Pages by Pepper Basham. This is a dual timeline story. So you have a contemporary heroine and you have a historical heroine, and it takes place at the Biltmore and in England, and there are so many beautiful quotes in this book. I absolutely love this book. It was just a pure joy, and you have to love a hero who calls his heroine the library fairy. I loved this book. Unsurprisingly, it was written by Pepper. So, next up would be an Alison Weir recommendation. That would be The Innocent Traitor. And this is a dual timeline. And the heroine is Jane Grey. So I will read you a little bit of the inside cover. This is the story of Lady Jane Grey, the 9 Days Queen, a 15-year-old girl who unwittingly finds herself at the center of a religious and civil unrest that nearly toppled the fabled House of Tudor during the 16th century. And apparently, I can't talk this morning. The child of a scheming father and a ruthless mother, Jane Grey is born during the harrowing, turbulent period that will see the demise of Jane's infamous great uncle, King Henry VIII. Vexed at not having a male heir, Jane's abusive parents connive to use their intelligent, dutiful young daughter as a pawn in a dangerous dynastic game. But when the premature death of Jane's adolescent cousin and Henry's successor, King Edward VI, thwarts their original ploy, Jane unwittingly finds herself at the center of the struggle for supremacy. And Jane is often overlooked in English history, and she shouldn't be. She really was at the center of a lot. And there are multiple points of view in this story. If you're interested in this time period, Alison Weir is an excellent author to pick up and read. So, okay. Last up would be another Edward Rutherford book. It is also on the Dave list, and that would be London is a Chunker. And this is the same writing style as The Princess of Ireland. So it is a contiguous story told throughout history, and it all takes place in London. So There are going to be multiple points of view as history progresses. And Rutherford's writing is transportive. If you like historical fiction that isn't necessarily a mystery, and it isn't necessarily a romance, and it doesn't have, you know, more than one genre in it, it's just historical fiction, pick up Rutherford. He has a book on China. He has a book on Paris. He has a Russia historical fiction. So he has a very wide breadth of knowledge, and his books are all just fascinating reads, and you will not find yourself regretting picking one up. Okay, next. All right, next up would be All the Fixins, a book told in multiple genres. This is just a fun category. I love mixed genre books. And to be honest, it's really easy to classify most books as mixed genres. It is very rare that you get a book that is just straight, let's say straight historical fiction. There's no mystery involved. There's no romance involved. There's no, you know, those are very rare. And I think that's what makes books so engaging, is when they blend multiple things together. So I have a couple of recommendations for this. I'm trying to think if I have any digital recommendations that easily fit into this. And none immediately spring to mind. I'm sure there are, and if they are, I will insert a bunch of covers at the end of this section. So first up would be the first book in the Dresden Files. That would be Stormfront by Jim Butcher. This is a fantasy. It is a mystery. It is an urban fantasy. You know, there are so many labels, and it's funny. And if you want a good escape, go pick up a Dresden File book. I mean, these are just a rollicking good time. And the main character is named Harry Dresden, and Harry and technology do not get along in the slightest. And I love this Harry. So I will read to the back of this one. Harry Dresden, wizard. Lost items found. Paranormal investigations. Consulting. Advice. Reasonable rates. No love potions. Endless purses or other entertainment. Harry Dresden is the best at what he does. Well, technically, he's the only at what he does. So when the Chicago PD has a case that transcends mortal creativity or capability, they come to him for answers. For the everyday world is actually full of strange and magical things, and most of them don't play well with humans. That's where Harry comes in. Takes a wizard to catch a wizard. Well, whatever. There's just one problem. Business, to put it mildly, stinks. So when the police bring him in to consult on a grisly double murder committed with black magic, Harry's seeing dollar signs. But where there's black magic, there's a black mage behind it. And now that mage knows Harry's name. And that's when things start to get interesting. Magic, it can get a guy killed. This was so much fun. This entire series is so much fun and so bingeable. It's I love this series. Next up would be the first book in the Invisible Library series. That is The Invisible Library by Genevieve Cogman. This is a mixture of fantasy, steampunk, mystery, and alternate history. And I love these. This series is engaging and bingeable and enjoyable and so entertaining. I really loved this book. So, next up is a read from this year. That is Counterfeit Love by Crystal Cadell. This is the first book in the Hidden Hearts of the Gilded Age series. It is set in Cincinnati. It is a historical fiction romance mystery. And it is one of the best books I've read so far this year. I have recently acquired the other two books in the series. I truly love this book. The faith, the romance, the mystery were all superb. And the unique thing about this series is that most historical romance series follows female characters. And in this case, the series is based around the male characters. And I really love that. I really, really love that. So, next up would be The Letter from Brighton Park by Sarah E. Ladd. This is the first book in the Houses of Yorkshire. This is historical fiction and mystery. And I devoured this book in, I believe, one sitting. I have the next book, which is Hollythorn House. I need to read it. It's a matter of, working it in. This book was fantastic. It was just fantastic. I don't have a copy of it, but Masquerade at Middleton Manor. Title's right here. By Abigail Wilson. Anything Abigail writes, actually. I loved this book as well. It is another historical fiction romance. There's faith in it, even though it is not marketed as Christian fiction. It is twisty and turny, and there are just moments of, tension and some humor, and I love the way Abigail draws you in and writes, and she has compelling covers, and the story contained within that cover lives up to the cover. So, easy recommendation. Okay, up next. Next up would be Sweet Tea. Something sweet on the cover or a sweet story. This was probably the most difficult choice. I don't have a lot of books that have something sweet on the cover. So I have some electronic recommendations. One I have read, but I don't have the book anymore. That would be, the name is escaping me. Here's the cover. It's by Sarah Fox. It was the first book in the series. I know the second book released October of last year. I haven't read it yet. It's set in New Hampshire. She runs a chocolate shop. Can't get any sweeter than a good piece of chocolate. And it was enjoyable. Is it enjoyable as Sarah Fox's Pancake House series? No, not quite as much, but I've only read the first book, and that may be affecting it, but I enjoyed it nonetheless. I will pick up the second book here to read when I, have a hot minute, and it's an easy recommendation. The next one would be A Game of Hearts by Joanna Barker. I know that the second book in this series is coming out here shortly. I read this at the beginning of January 2023, and I love this book. This book is so much fun. It is just a very sweet love story. And not saccharine sweet, but it is just an amazingly well-written, fun, enjoyable story with a heroine who knows what she wants, and she is not willing to compromise, and she's not willing to capitulate, and it is a joyful ride. I highly recommend A Game of Hearts by Joanna Barker. And the last electronic one I'm going to recommend is the Oxford Tea Room series by Hyde Conrad. These are obviously set in Oxford, England. There are scones involved, and tea, and honey, and these are just great, comfy, cozy mysteries that are easy to lose yourself in. And, I love them. So take that for what it is. And, I couldn't do as a sweet category without mentioning Joanne Fluke. This is the Coconut Layer Cake Murder. And don't ask me what number this is in the Hannah Swenson series, because, they're not numbered. But there are recipes. The recipes are always delicious. There's always a sweet on the cover of the book. And I have not read this one yet. And I do love coconut layer cake immensely. So, yeah. And I love strawberries, which are also on the cover. I'll read you the back. When Hannah learns that her sister Michelle's boyfriend, Detective Lonnie Murphy, is the prime suspect in a murder case, she flies straight home from a Los Angeles movie soundstage to a frigid Minnesota. But proving Lonnie's innocence will be harder than figuring out what went wrong with the recipe, especially when Lonnie's hazy memory of that night in question. Hannah doesn't know what to believe before everything comes crashing down on Lonnie like a heaping slice of coconut layer cake. It'll be up to Hannah to rack up enough clues to toast a flaky killer. So, yeah. It is, however, one of the more recent books, and they've been a little flaky. This one was published in 2020. So we'll see. Okay. Next up is Chicken and Dumplins, a book that is a comfort read. Now, a comfort read is going to differ for everyone. So I am going to give you a couple of books that are comfort reads for me. And, maybe it'll spark some interest. Maybe they're comfort reads for you too. If you have a comfort read you think I would enjoy, please leave a comment down below, because I'm always looking for one of those. So, first up would be Save the Date by Mary Kay Andrews. Shouldn't be shocking. I'll read you the first paragraph in the back. Up-and-coming floral designer Kara Krasik is about to score the wedding of a lifetime, one that will solidify her career as the go-to girl for Savannah's society nuptials. But trouble comes when you least expect it, and in one awful morning, it all rains down on Kara. Her most faithful companion, Poppy, has either run away or has been dognapped. Her refrigerator is on the blink, turning $12,000 worth of gorgeous blooms into roadkill. And if that's not enough, the supposed dognapper, Jack Finnerty, turns up at her latest wedding, refusing to admit he has her dog. I need to know. I just need to know. It'll be a good time. It'll be a comfort. I can read it outside in my beach chair or my, outside chair and just relax. Next up would be The Witch's Daughter by Paula Braxton. This is a fantastic book. It is dual timeline, as I recall. I read this several years ago. Yeah, it's dual timeline. So takes place in present day and the 1628 in England, and there's no spell slinging or cursing or any of that stuff. If you're worried about that, there's just I can't explain what happens without spoiling the book, and I don't want to do that, so I will read you the back. In the spring of 1628, the witch finder of Wessex finds himself a true witch. As Beth Hawksmith watches her mother swing from the hanging tree, she knows the only one man can save her from the same fate. The warlock Gideon Masters. Secluded at his cottage, Gideon instructs Beth, awaking formidable powers she didn't even know she had. She couldn't have foreseen that even now, centuries later, he would be hunting her across time, determined to claim payment for saving her life. In present-day England, Elizabeth has built a quiet life. She has spent centuries in solitude, surviving plagues, wars, and the heartbreak that comes with immortality. Her loneliness comes to an abrupt end when she is befriended by a teenage girl called Tegan. Against her better judgment, Elizabeth opens her heart to Tegan. But will she be able to stand against Gideon, who will stop at nothing to reclaim her soul, in order to protect the girl who's become the daughter she never had? All I can say is if you are leery, it is worth a try. This book is beautifully written. It tells a beautiful story about the importance of found family and being willing to risk it all for love. This is a gorgeous book. Next up is one I've been waiting to read for over a year. That is The Marriage of Lions by Elizabeth Chadwick. There are many unread Elizabeth Chadwicks on my shelf. I love her writing. Her Eleanor of Aquitaine books, I will put the pictures right here, are fantastic. They are bingeable. They are just a beautiful expression of the possible story of one of the most important women in history that is not given enough credit in present day for everything she accomplished in her lifetime. Chadwick is a go-to historical author for me. I love the way she writes, and I am very much looking forward to this early medieval mystery or story, and I cannot wait. I just gotta get through Dave stuff so I can just mood read for the rest of the year. Next up is another Dave book, but it is a Dave book that is also very much in keeping with the comfort read for me. That is, which one is this? The Ladies of Ivy Cottage by Julie Klassen. This is the second book in the Tales from Ivy Hill series. And Julie Klassen writes beautiful Christian historical fiction. And this does not At least based on the first book, there is no romance involved. This is a book about the town and ladies and, hints of romance, but not, hi, there's a happily ever after at the end of this. It's just a beautifully written story that is immersive and enjoyable and so easy to lose yourself in. Next up are two books by the same author. Are they in the same series? Let's see if they tell me. They do. Okay, so I'm missing book 2. So book 1 of the series is A Foreign Country by Charles Cummins. And book 3 in the series is A Divided Spy. So I need to get book 2, which is what is book 2? I just saw it. You would think I could remember that title in the 2 seconds. A Colder War. I need to get A Colder War. I have read A Foreign Country. These are espionage books. They are incredibly well-written espionage books. I love a good spy story. These are so well written as spy stories. They are engaging and tense where they're supposed to be, and on the edge of your seat action, and there's no romance, and there's just good action-packed spy story that does not linger. If you are looking for another very good spy trilogy, that would be the Red Sparrow series by Jason Matthews. These are incredibly well written. They're incredibly engaging, and I devoured them. They are all released now. You don't have to wait like I did. And yeah, can't go wrong. Are they spice free? No, they're not, but they are appropriate given the content of the book. However, they are an excellent spy series. So those are just a few comfort reads for me. Next up is probably my favorite category, and that is Heavens to Betsy. And though that is a book that is a mystery or a thriller, as you all know, I love me a good mystery book. I can't go a month without reading at least one. So this is no surprise that there are books on this list. So the first one I'm going to recommend is the Pancake House series by Sarah Fox. These are set in Washington State. I love the way Sarah writes, and I happen to love pancakes, so this was a no-brainer for me. I need to continue and finish this series, so this was easy to recommend. The next recommendation is the Bookmobile Cat series by Lori Cass. I don't know where my hard copy of the book is. It's here somewhere. I love these books. This entire series, it takes place in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, and there is a bookmobile, and there is a cat, and it's just charming and easy to read and oh so enjoyable. And the last series I will recommend here is the Bookshop Murders Mystery series by V.M. Burns. These are also set in Michigan, but in the lower half. And I love these books. These are an easy read. There is a historical mystery that the protagonist in the book is writing, and you get the historical mystery interwoven with the contemporary mystery, and it took me a while to get used to it in the first book, and now I just completely love it. I love these books. They are quick, easy, palate cleansing, lose yourself in the read type of book. And yeah, I am totally here for those. So those are 3 easy digital reads I don't have physical copies of for the most part. But I love them. They are easy to recommend. So in this section of recommendations, it is a mix of things I have read, things I have not read, and things I know other people whose opinions I trust have read and loved. So I feel comfortable recommending them. So first up, let's see. What do we do first? Let's do this one first. This would be The Secrets of Sloane House by Shelley Gray. This was on the May poll for book club. It did not end up winning. However, I've had this book for a very long time. I very much want to read it. So maybe I will pick it up in May. Maybe. But it just sounds so interesting. I know it's a trilogy. It's not a huge investment. And Chicago's World Fair. Yeah. I'm here for it. So sign me up. This was also a book club choice in, I think, January maybe. Because I Could Not Stop for Death by Amanda Flower. This is the first book in the Emily Dickinson murder mystery series. And yeah, this is another one I really want to read. I will say that I don't particularly enjoy Amanda Flower's Amish mysteries, but I do have high hopes for this one. I love the dedication of this. I'll read you the dedication for this book. For Isabella Bell Flower. I see Emily in you and cannot wait to see your impact on the world. You are loved beyond measure. And I love the fact that there's quotes from Emily Dickinson. Just the book starts off with a quote from Emily Dickinson, and I'll read it to you. Because I could not stop for death, he kindly stopped for me. The carriage held but just ourselves, and immortality. So, I want to read this book. Yeah. Next up would be a Goodreads giveaway that I almost picked up this week, but I ended up picking up something else. That would be The Busybody by Kemper Donovan. This is the first book in a new series, and I do not know the series name off the top of my head because, why would the publisher include such information? But again, it's not very long. It's just over 300 pages. So yeah, this would not be a difficult read for me. Oh, another May book club choice that didn't win. This would be Miss Graham's Cold War Cookbook by Celia Reese. This is a Dave 2024 pick for me. It is on my May TBR. And yeah, I am very much looking forward to this. It is mystery, it is a thriller, it is espionage, it is historical. Yeah. There are so many things about this book that are check boxes for me that I cannot wait to read it. So, okay, a couple more here. Surprising that this is the largest chapter, that section. No, you're not. That would be The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I have never read anything by her. I've heard this is decent. I'm leery because it's set in Hollywood and I don't enjoy Hollywood stories. Don't know anything about the author. I know she can be spicy, but I don't have problems skipping spicy stuff. That's not a problem for me. So we will see if I like it when I read it. I don't know yet. Time will tell. Next up would be the 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle by Stuart Turton. And I know Amanda read this. I know this is twisty and turny, and yeah, this is one I really want to read. And I'll read you the back, little blurb. The rules of Blackheath. Evelyn Hardcastle will be murdered at 11 p.m. There are 8 days and 8 witnesses for you to inhabit. We will only let you escape once you tell us the name of the killer. Understood? Then let's begin. Sign me up? No, seriously. Where do I go? How? Tammy needs more time in the day. Okay. Last recommendation for this section. That would be Murder Key, and this is by Cara Black. This is in the Amy Leduc investigation series. These are set in Paris. I love this series. This is not cozy. This is not police procedural. This is contemporary private investigation. There are grandparents or grandfather. There's a poodle. I love this. I love this series. It is a joy. And I cannot recommend these enough. Seriously, they are so good, and there are so many twists and turns, and you will fall in love with the series. That's all I can say. Okay. Up next. Next up, Bless Your Heart, a emotional or heartwarming book. So first up is Beneath the Scarlet Sky by Mark Sullivan. I have already unhauled this book. However, this is World War II historical fiction. And as you know, I don't generally read World War II historical fiction. I think it is vastly overdone. This book, however, is amazing. It is the book that saved the author's life. Literally, he was going to commit suicide that night when he got the idea for the book at a dinner party. It saved his life. The hand of God is present throughout that book. You can see it in action. It is a fabulous read. So much so that I picked up his other World War II historical fiction book from the library bookshop. That is The Last Green Valley. And I love this color. It is quite beautiful. And I will read you the back. In late March 1944, as Stalin forces push into Ukraine, young Emil and Adeline Martel must make a terrible decision. Do they wait for the Soviet bear's intrusion and risk being sent to Siberia? Or do they reluctantly follow the wolves, murderous Nazi officers who have pledged to protect pure-blood Germans? The Martels are one of many families of German heritage whose ancestors have farmed in Ukraine for more than a century. But after already living under Stalin's horrifying regime, Emil and Adeline decide they must run and retreat from their land with the wolves they despise to escape the Soviets and go in search of freedom. Caught between two warring forces and overcoming horrific trials to pursue their hopes of immigrating to the West, The Martell story is a brutal, complex, and ultimately triumphant tale that illuminates the extraordinary power of love, faith, and one family's incredible will to survive and see their dreams realized. I want to read this. I just need to be in the mood for a World War II book. And admittedly, that doesn't happen very often in my world. So, okay. Next up is a new to me author. That is Frederick Bachman. This is my grandmother asked me to tell you she's sorry. Okay, so interesting title, beautiful cover. It's got a little girl and a dog. I'm already in. You read the back and you're just like, okay, this is going to break my heart and make me laugh and all the things. I need to read the book for all the things. A couple of other recommendations I don't have copies of. First up would be Esme Calhill Fails Spectacularly by Marie Bostwick. This is a contemporary novel. There is no romance. There are grandparents. It is more a novel about discovering who you are in your 30s than it is anything else. She comes home to help her grandfather and her grandmother, and it is a beautiful book. Like all of Marie's books, it is a beautiful book. The other Marie book I will recommend is The Restoration of Celia Fairchild. Again, same theme. I don't remember there being grandparents in this one. It could be mistaken. I read it a while ago. I loved both of these books immensely. They are just fantastic, fantastic reads. And they're clean. And they're gorgeous. And all the things. I will make one other recommendation. I cannot remember the title of this book. It's right here. I know it's by Catherine Center. I read it last year. And this, our protagonist has a brain tumor. She gets it removed, and as a result, for a while, she cannot see faces. It is a fascinating premise. It was a wonderfully contemporary comedy, and I truly just loved it. I really, really did. I loved it. It was interesting and funny and sweet, and I just loved it. I'm skipping her new one. I have no interest in reading a Hollywood story, but this one, easy recommendation. Couple others. Jenny Proctor, the Hawthorne Brothers series. These are fantastic romantic comedies. They are clean fiction. They are so funny. They are so entertaining. They're full of family and friends and humor and love. And, you know, if you need to get out of reading slump, go pick up a Jenny book. Emma St. Clair. Her Love and Sheet Cake Texas series, I also love to death. Same thing as Jenny. Funny, clean, sweet, closed door. Family. Silly situations. In a reading slump, read a Jenny Proctor or an Emma St. Clair. Sharon M. Peterson has two books I both love. I loved immensely. That would be The Fake Out and The Do-Over. And she has her third book is coming out in June of this year. It is called The Fast Lane, and I don't believe there's a cover yet. If there is, I will put it right here. If not, you'll have to use your imagination. And Sharon's books are also closed door and funny and sweet. And there's a little more swearing than there is in a Jenny or an Emma book. But Sharon writes these deeply memorable characters. And I absolutely love the way Sharon writes. And I love the fact that she writes about characters that aren't, a size 2, or, she writes relatable human beings who love their family, and just, pick up a Sharon book. You won't regret it. Last digital recommendation is going to be Courtney Walsh, her Sweater Weather series. I always forget the name of this book, and I do not know why. It's right here. And I just read My Phony Valentine. And the next book in that series is My Lucky Charm. It is downloaded on my Kindle. All these Courtney Walsh books are independently published. They are funny. They are sweet. They are closed door. They are great. They are just great. The Sweater Weather book was one of my favorite reads last year in this, in a rom-com category, because it talks about the difference between romantic love and practical love, and it was just great. My Phony Valentine hooked me very early on when we talked about the boxed wine sociopath. If you know, you know. Read the book. It is a fantastic read. It really is. Okay. So the last book in this category, I think everybody who reads historical fiction needs to read this book. That is The Queen's Governess by Karen Harper. This tells the fictionalized true life story of the governess of Queen Elizabeth I. And this is one of the most beautiful books of historical fiction I have ever read. We often overlook the fact that queens are, especially in this time period in history, are raised by governesses, not their parents, especially when their parents are executed by their father. And she was a constant in Elizabeth's life. And it is a beautiful story. It is moving and just so relatable. And I know personally, I read it, and I was so thankful that I was not born into Tudor England, because I could not have survived the politics. My mouth would have got me in trouble. Just plain and simple, my mouth would have gotten me in trouble. So if you love historical fiction like I do, please read Karen Harper. Much like Elizabeth Chadwick, it is historical fiction you cannot put down, and you lose yourself in the stories. Okay, the very last prompt is free space. I am not going to recommend anything for this prompt, obviously, because you can choose anything and it will fulfill this prompt, and then you would have participated in the reading challenge. I am so looking forward to this month-long event. Amanda and all of her co-hosts do a great job. It is a fun set of prompts. It lends itself to a wide range of reading choices, and it is enjoyable. and fun. And, you know, Amanda is a sweet, open, honest, joyful person. And it is my pleasure to help her celebrate her birthday in the month of May. And I hope you all participate. If you read one book, you have participated and you will make Amanda happy. And all of her co-hosts are listed down below. If you think there's something I missed, something I would enjoy, please leave a comment down below, like and subscribe, and I will see you here next time at the Protagonist Pub.